Hello and welcome to News Connect. I'm Amritpal Singh. This is a show in which we tell you what happened around the world and in the country. Today, we'll talk about all that's happening over the next 1 hour. Let's begin with the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Poll campaign for sixth phase of assembly elections in West Bengal intensifies. Prime Minister Modi holds election rallies in Dakshin Dinajpur and Asansol, asserts Mafia Raj will come to an end in the state if BJP is voted to power. Senior BJP leader Amit Shah also holds election meetings in the state. TMC and other political parties too on campaign trail following new guidelines of the Election Commission of India. Voting underway for the fifth phase of West Assembly elections on 45 seats. Over 67% voters exercise their franchise. All arrangements in place to follow COVID restrictions. By-polls being conducted for 2 seats of Lok Sabha and 12 assembly seats from 9 states. Prime Minister Modi appeals that the mega Kumbh Mela should now only be symbolic amid coronavirus crisis. Prime Minister stresses that it will give a boost to fight against the pandemic. Union Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan reviews COVID-19 situation and vaccine progress in the country in a high-level meeting with health ministers of states. Dr. Harsh Vardhan asserts there is not a shortage of COVID-19 vaccines in the country. India's cumulative vaccine coverage nears 12 crores with over 30 lakh doses given in the last 24 hours. Daily new cases continue to rise. 2,34,692 new cases registered, 79% of new cases reported from 10 states. Death toll in the world crosses the grim mark of 30 lakh. And in sports, Biden backtracks on removing Trump cap on refugee, holds the cap at historically low figure of 15,000 2 months after he pledged to increase it to 65,500. So those were the headlines we were tracking at this hour, and now the news in detail. Polling is underway for the fifth phase of elections in West Bengal. Campaigning for the sixth phase of assembly elections has gained momentum in the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a public rally in Asansol region of West Bengal. Lashing out at the incumbent Chief Minister of the state and TMC leader Mamata Banerjee, the Prime Minister said that her government deprived the people of the state from many of the developmental schemes launched by the centre. The Prime Minister also vowed that if the BJP-led government will be formed in the state, a financial aid of 18,000 rupees will be provided to the farmers.
बंगाल को विकास रोकने वाली नहीं, डबल इंजन की सरकार चाहिए, डबल इंजन की सरकार। बंगाल की बीजेपी सरकार आपका लाभ कराने वाली हर उस योजना को लागू करेगी जिन्हें दीदी की सरकार ने रोका हुआ है। पहली ही कैबिनेट में पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि पर बड़ा फैसला लिया जाएगा। बंगाल के हर किसान के खाते में 18,000 रुपये सीधे ट्रांसफर हो, जिसको दीदी ने रोकने की कोशिश की। 2 मई के बाद नई सरकार बनने के बाद दीदी नहीं रोक पाएगी।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi slammed the Mamata Banerjee government for her consistent absence in crucial meetings held by the central government.
दीदी अपने अहंकार में दीदी इतनी बड़ी हो गई है कि हर कोई उन्हें अपने आगे छोटा दिखता है। केंद्र सरकार ने अनेक बार अनेक विषयों पर बात करने के लिए बैठकें बुलाई है, लेकिन दीदी कोई न कोई कारण बताकर इस बैठकों में नहीं आती। जैसे कोरोना पर पिछली 2 बैठकों में बाकी मुख्यमंत्री आए, लेकिन दीदी नहीं आई। नीति आयोग की गवर्नेंस काउंसिल की बैठक हो, बाकी मुख्यमंत्री आए, लेकिन दीदी नहीं आई।
The Prime Minister also lambasted the previous governments in West Bengal for stagnant development in Asansol region. He added that Mamata Banerjee has established Mafia Raj in the state.
बंगाल में जो सरकारें रही, उनके कुशासन ने आसनसोल को कहां से कहां पहुंचा दिया। जहां लोग चाकरी के लिए आते थे, आज यहां से लोग पलायन हो रहे हैं। मां, माटी, मानुष की बात करने वाली दीदी ने यहां हर तरफ माफिया राज फैला दिया है।
Addressing another rally in Gangarampur, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the BJP believes in the mantra of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Vishwas.
बीजेपी हर बहन बेटी, चाहे वो किसी भी मत संप्रदाय की हो, सबकी सुरक्षा, सबका सम्मान और सबको अवसर देने के लिए काम करती है। 3 तलाक के खिलाफ कानून बनाकर बीजेपी ने लाखों मुस्लिम बहनों के जीवन की सबसे बड़ी चिंता दूर की। इस वजह से लाखों मुस्लिम बहन बेटियां आज बीजेपी के साथ खुल करके भी आने लगी है, और जब वोट देने जाती है तो चुपचाप कमल पर बटन दबा करके आती है।
Meanwhile, as the campaigning heats up for the 6th phase of assembly elections in West Bengal, Home Minister and senior BJP leader Amit Shah held a roadshow in Amdanga region of North 24 Parganas in the state. 43 assembly constituencies will go to polls in the state on the 22nd of April. Meanwhile, voting is underway for the 5th phase of elections. And as I said, voting is underway in West Bengal for the 5th phase of elections. During the 5th phase of state assembly elections, total of 319 candidates, including 39 women, are vying for the 45 assembly seats spread over 6 districts. BJP is contesting on all the 45 seats, while the ruling Trinamool Congress is contesting on 42 seats. Congress, left and other parties and their alliance partner Indian Secular Front are fighting under the banner of Sanyukt Morcha. Over 1.13 crore voters, including 56.11 lakh women and 224 third gender persons, will decide the fate of these candidates. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Election Commission has decided to allow a maximum of 1,000 voters in one polling station. And Prime Minister Modi has urged the people to vote in large numbers in today's phase of the elections. He said the first-time voters in particular should exercise their franchise. Voters with COVID infected or suspected have the facility to vote by postal ballot after certification by competent authority. A total of 1,071 companies of security forces are deployed for the 5th phase. Meanwhile, paramilitary forces have also been adequately deployed to prevent any disturbances in these elections. Voting is also being held for the by-elections in 2 Lok Sabha seats and 12 assembly seats in 9 states. By-elections are being held for Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh and Belgaum Lok Sabha seat in Karnataka. Over 67% voters have exercised their franchise so far. Polling will conclude at 6:30 p.m. And for more on the update on the voting going on today in West Bengal, we are joined by my colleague Anibroto. Anibroto, give us a sense of first how the polling is progressing.
Yeah, Amritpal, as you know, stray incidents of violence, vitiated, the poll atmosphere in different pockets in the 6 districts of West Bengal that are undergoing poll. The thing is that only 1 hour or 2 hours beforehand, one, incident in which the bike-borne assailants started discriminate firing, and there in which it is reported that one Trinamool supporter got been injured and admitted in hospital. This thing is not only considered in Nadia district in Shantipur particularly, but in different pockets in Bengal too. Stray incidents of violence were there. But leaving apart all these things, poll atmosphere was largely peaceful in the greater segments of Bengal, and as you know, largest number of this assembly constituency undergoing poll this time, the 45, where we are witnessing largest concentration of the central force, and each of the polling booth is having the significant number of deployment of the central force Joan. Polling was largely peaceful since early morning, because we found that the large number of voters, but in course of time, as it is now crossed 4 p.m. now, it is reported that the turnout is around 70%, and it will be further till the polling comes to an end. This phase in India is taken as a very strategic, defined as a very strategic phase, because this phase, it has been said that will largely decide who will come to the seat of power in Bengal, because in the 2016 election BJP drew a blank, but thereafter in 2019 they railed into different hinterlands in Bengal, and there we find that their vote percentile was largely increased. It was around 45.1%, while Trinamool Congress was lagging far behind. They were 39%. So the thing is that where we are standing right at this point of time is a Bidhannagar constituency in the North 24 Pargana district. Here also BJP had taken lead in the Lok Sabha election of more than 18,000 seats. Now, what is to be seen that how this thing now translates into reality this time. But as we find that soon after the Lok Sabha elections, saffron surge everywhere, and the people are, this time what we find is largely significant, because people are by and large, want to experiment with something new. So what they are experiment with new will find the result while it was declared on 2nd May, and beforehand, as we find that
you are right when you say that the
rise of the corona, the voters braved all the odds, taken all precautions, they came in the polling booths and did cast their vote.
Okay, Anubroto, can you hear me? Anubroto, yes. That's right, that while in the last Lok Sabha elections, the BJP had improved its performance here, but when it comes to assembly elections, it's the local factors that play. It's a completely different game. TMC, though
yes,
it has some sort of national ambitions, but is largely seen as a Bengal party.
yes.
How is the political narrative playing out in these particular elections when it comes to TMC versus BJP in the 45 seats that are going to polls today?
Amritpal, this time what we find, this polling is largely, polarized. This time what we are witnessing, but the thing is that, what we experienced in the last Lok Sabha election was largely very significant. And this time, as you know, the several issues crop up, because starting from the employment to the job generations, and the prices of the essential goods and commodities, all these things dominate the mind of the voters. But above all, several of the local problems also play a dominant role too. Voters are largely looking forward. They experienced with the Congress rule, they experienced with the LEP rule for the 34 years, and thereafter with the Trinamool rule for the last 10 years too. Now, as we find that this is a Bengal election is at a historic juncture. Now, Trinamool Congress, BJP has emerged as a strong contendant, and they are contesting against the Trinamool Congress. Largely, the bipolar election, although Indian Secular Front is very much in the fray, but the main contest is between Trinamool Congress and BJP. Now, how this thing will, transcend into reality and what result, what we will witness in the long run, that will be, find in the, when the result will be declared on 2nd May.
Okay. Also give us a sense of how the COVID protocols are being followed in the polling booths.
Yeah, this protocol is strongly adhered. And we find since early morning today, we find that the poll officials also following these protocols by and large. And while the voters are entering into the polling station, thermal checking is being done. Thereafter, they are given the, sanitizer, they are given hand gloves and mask. And if it is found that their temperature is above permissible limit, they have given, token and asked to come to vote after 5:30 p.m. So voters are also equally adhering these norms. As we find where we are standing, it is very significant, the round marking has been made. Amritpal, I want to show you all these things. We found in the early morning the voters were, when there was a long serpentine queue, we found that the voters were largely, they stood in all these blocks as it is made here. And thereafter, following all the COVID norms, they entered into the booths, and after casting their vote, we interacted with them. They say that they are largely satisfied the arrangements that were taken. When you ask them why they did brave all these odds, because Corona has made a persistent rise and it is increasing by leaps and bounds. Yet we find large number of voters in the polling booths. They say it is a festival of democracy because
but are they wearing
know
masks?
they have to inhabit with Corona, yet they do not, they brave all these odds, and they want to exercise this power of them that is bestowed on them.
Are they wearing masks? Are the officials employed there insisting on that?
Yes, Amritpal, I want to show, ask my cameraman Ashok Sharmaji to show that now 2 and 3 voters are entering into the polling booths. You see, all of them are wearing masks. They are strongly adhering these norms. We didn't find a single voter who didn't wear a mask. All of them did wear masks. They are carrying sanitizer with them too. And soon after entering into the polling station, where this, the platform has been made for this thermal checking and all these things, they went there and their thermal checking was done. Thereafter, only they entered into the booth. So this practice was largely practiced here. This COVID protocols were largely adhered, and voters expressed their satisfaction with all the measures that were taken.
All right. One thing that the central leadership of the BJP who are campaigning here, including the Prime Minister in his capacity as a senior leader of the BJP, including Amit Shah, another senior, they've been accusing Mamata Banerjee of, running a mafia raj, and they say that, look, if you vote the BJP into power, there'll be a double engine of development. One narrative is that, accusing Mamata Banerjee of not really doing development of Bengal. The other narrative, which the Prime Minister also touched upon today for the 6th phase that he's campaigning for in Gangarampur, he took 2 holy names. He said that define our culture. He says Lord Ram and River Ganga. And she says that Didi abuses Indians living in areas near the river Ganga. She insults their beliefs, food, language and clothes. It is a very polarized election in terms of the communal content also. Is that narrative cutting ice with people? Is society polarized on communal grounds as well?
Yeah, it may be largely true because, the voters in West Bengal are largely, they are liberal in nature. So they do not actually want this communal sort of things underplay in the elections. But this time we find that this polling was largely, this polarized. And while the BJP leaders, even the top leaders of BJP, they did cast aspersion on the Trinamool Congress that they are not implementing the central scheme and all these things. Trinamool Congress Supremo also did equally cast aspersion over the BJP, that BJP stands as an hindrance between, before the development of the country and all these things. So the thing is that this is largely practical in the truest sense, because this contest is largely been found between Trinamool Congress and Congress, and certainly
Trinamool
no one
Congress
is ready
and
to
BJP.
leave ground to the other. So the thing is, what is quite imminent is that one individual who belongs to another party is casting aspersion over the other. But this is not actually, didn't have any impact on the voters' mind, because voters are free to their choice and they are exercising their power as they have to.
So you're saying that the voter that you speak to today is really casting his or her vote on the issues that affect him or her directly, that is development in the area, whether he or she or their children find jobs. That's what's weighing on the mind, not say issues like the communal issues.
Yeah, exactly, Amritpal. This is actually what we found at large, because we had talked with the voters of the young generation's voters, and we asked them what's their aspirations. They said that, see, we are educated youth and we look forward for the jobs, and certainly if the employment generation is made, the jobs are created, that will be largely beneficial to them. So they do not pay heed to what the political parties are, slug festing over each other. They do not actually like these things. Rather, they are prone to the development works. The development that will largely benefit the people's life and actually come to the use of the development of the state and the country at large. That is what we found while talking with the voters today.
Maybe, Arembroto, that's what people like to tell us reporters, what plays on their mind, what finally they decide on while casting their vote is could be different from what they like to voice. We'll have to see whether these things played their role when the results come in. But many thanks for updating us for the moment and giving us those updates. And moving on, amid a huge number of people testing positive from the Kumbh Mela area in Haridwar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi this morning urged that Kumbh Mela should now only be symbolic amid coronavirus crisis. He stressed that it will give a boost to fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Modi spoke to Acharya Swami Advaiteshanand Girji on the phone and inquired about the health of All Saints. All Saints are providing support to the administration for a smooth conduct of the affair. The Prime Minister said that now the two royal baths have taken place. He appeals to everyone to keep Kumbh Mela symbolic due to the virus crisis. This will give strength to India's fight against the virus. Many Sikhs have tested positive for COVID-19 after the commencement of Kumbh. And responding to the Prime Minister's call, Swami Advaiteshanand Giri urged people not to come to the Kumbh Mela for bathing in large numbers and adhere to COVID-19 appropriate behavior. He wrote that he had honored the call of Honorable Prime Minister. Protecting life is a great virtue. Union Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan chaired the high-level meeting with health ministers of states to review COVID-19 situation and vaccine progress in the states. During the meeting, Dr. Harsh Vardhan assured that there is no shortage of COVID-19 vaccines in the country.
हमारे रिकॉर्ड्स के हिसाब से स्टेट्स के पास 1,58,00,000 डोजेज हैं और जो कि एक हफ्ते के अंदर पाइपलाइन के अंदर सप्लाई के अंदर हैं वो 1,16,84,000 डोजेज हैं। ये फिगर देने का सिर्फ आपको आइडिया ये है कि आप सब भी इस बात से आश्वस्त रहें कि कोई वैक्सीन की शॉर्टेज नहीं है हमारे पास।
And Dr. Harsh Vardhan further directed state health ministers to appoint a nodal officer to monitor mutations in the genome sequencing of COVID-19 in states. He assured that the centre will provide all necessary aid to states in tackling the COVID-19 situation.
हर एक स्टेट एक अपना कोई नोडल ऑफिसर इस दृष्टि से जरूर अपॉइंट करे क्योंकि जो जीनोम सीक्वेंसिंग के अंदर जो भी हमारे को म्यूटेशंस मान लीजिए दिखाई देते हैं तो उनका क्लिनिकल पिक्चर और पब्लिक हेल्थ के एंगल से कोरिलेशन, इसको करने के लिए जो क्लिनिकल पिक्चर की जानकारी है वो स्टेट से वापस मिलना हमको ज़रूरी है। उन पर्टिकुलर केसेस में ठीक ढंग से अपने यहाँ एनालिसिस करके और सर्ज को कल्पना करके भविष्य के लिए प्लान करके इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के संदर्भ में और दूसरी चीज़ों के संदर्भ में भारत सरकार को जो भी चीज़ें सही समय पर प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे, हम उन सारी चीज़ों के अंदर और विशेष रूप से जो आजकल बेड्स के बारे में, ऑक्सीजन के बारे में, कुछ दवाइयों के बारे में जो भी बातचीत चलती है, जो हमारे लेवल पर जितने एक्शंस लेने हैं, वी हैव इनिशिएटेड ऑल ऑफ देम।
India continues to carry out the world's largest vaccination drive against COVID-19. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country has reached nearly 12 crore today. As per provisional report till 7 this morning, as many as 11 crore 99 lakh 37,641 vaccine doses have been administered in India through 17 lakh 37,539 sessions. So far, 91 lakh 5,429 healthcare workers have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 56 lakh 70,818 healthcare workers have received both the doses. In India, 1 crore 11 lakh 44,699 frontline workers have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 54 lakh 8,572 got the second dose of the COVID jab. 4 crore 49 lakh 35,011 beneficiaries above the age of 60 years received the first dose of the vaccine, while 34 lakh 88,257 have got both the doses. 3 crore 92 lakh 23,975 aged between 45 to 60 years have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 9 lakh 61,510 have got the second dose of the vaccine. India continues to battle COVID-19. Daily new cases continue to rise within the country, registering 2,34,692 fresh cases in the last 24 hours. 10 states including Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Kerala, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Rajasthan report 79.32% of the new cases. Maharashtra has reported the highest daily new cases at 63,729. It's followed by Uttar Pradesh with 27,360, while Delhi reports 19,486 new cases. India's total active caseload has reached 16,79,740. It now comprises 11.56% of the country's total positive cases. The country's cumulative recoveries stand at 1 crore 26,71,220 today. The national recovery rate is 87.23%. In the last 24 hours, 1,23,354 recoveries were registered. The deadly virus has claimed as many as 1,341 lives in the country in the last 24 hours. 10 states account for 85.83% of the new deaths. Maharashtra saw the maximum casualties of 398. Delhi follows with 141 daily deaths. Looking at the testing updates, as per Indian Council of Medical Research or the ICMR, over 26 crore 49 lakh 72,000 samples have been tested for COVID-19 in the country so far, including the over 14 lakh 95,000 samples tested yesterday. And in view of the soaring cases of COVID-19 in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the government there has capped the number of people in any gathering to 100. The UT authorities have also postponed the examinations of class 11th conducted by Jammu and Kashmir Board of School Education. A tweet by Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha's office read, and I quote, "In view of the COVID-19 class 11th exams have been postponed." The tweet further adds there will also be sealing on gatherings and functions, restricting to 100 persons from the earlier 200. And in Delhi, weekend curfew is currently underway in the national capital to arrest the spread of coronavirus for those categories of persons engaged in essential services or goods and personal emergencies, etc. As per DDMA orders, Movement passes are being issued. Delhi police has started a helpline to facilitate the movement pass for eligible persons as per the DDMA order to facilitate persons in essential services and goods. The helpline is set up at the police headquarters with a pilot number 011 234 69900. In such a case, eligible persons facing any difficulty or inconvenience in getting their movement passes from the police authorities or need any clarifications, they can call for assistance on the Delhi Police Movement Pass helpline. And Delhi has reported more than 19,486 new cases and 141 fatalities in the last 24 hours. Delhi's positivity rate stood in 24 hours is 19.69%, while 12,649 patients recovered yesterday. The cumulative positive cases in Delhi stood at 8,03,623. COVID-19 tests conducted in the national capital in a single day stood at 98,957. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal held a review meeting on the COVID-19 situation as the national capital has been witnessing an exponential rise in the cases. Nodal Minister for COVID-19 Management Manish Sisodia, Health Minister Satyendra Jain and other officials took part in the meeting. As Maharashtra is facing oxygen shortage, many COVID-positive patients had to be shifted to other hospitals. Concerned authorities said that the hospital didn't get its regular fill of oxygen on time and hence moved out patients before the stocks fully ran out. Earlier, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray said that with the rise in new cases, the health infrastructure in the state is overburdened. The Chief Minister added that all the oxygen produced are being used for medical purposes and will ask more help from the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, in various places in Maharashtra, local authority is implementing strict lockdown in the region. In Hangoli district, restrictions are being strictly enforced to curb the spread of the virus, and antigen testing of such citizens is being carried out to curb unwarranted pedestrians. A person who tests positive is being admitted to the COVID center. The Aurangabad Municipal Corporation has also started action to crack down on pedestrians when they are not needed and is testing antigens on pedestrians. Aurangabad District Administration hopes that this action will help in finding the patient but will reduce congestion on the roads. And for more on that story, I am joined by my colleague Shishir Shelar, who joins us from Mumbai. Shishir, first of all, we put out the numbers. You give us a sense and feel of what is the latest in Maharashtra and Mumbai, both in terms of number of infections, how widespread do you see, and has it brought in a certain sense of seriousness in people?
Condition here, Maharashtra is facing a huge shortage of vaccine and remdesivir. We have just seen the war of words between the state and center. Just now, a few minutes ago, one of the Maharashtra cabinet minister has alleged that the center has stopped the oxygen supply also and the remdesivir supply also to Maharashtra. Well, refuting all these allegations, center and especially Minister Piyush Goyal have said that the state, the center is actually producing much higher than the capacity as far as oxygen is concerned. And they've also been distributing to all the states here. The oxygen supply to industrial purpose have been stopped completely and is used just for the medical purpose. He also said that the Maharashtra has received the maximum supply of oxygen so far compared to other states, and going forward, the state will help Maharashtra and also will make available the oxygen supply and as well as the remdesivir supply, whichever required for Maharashtra. But at this point in time, the Maharashtra government is doing just politics. That's what the Union Minister said. So obviously there has been a word war between the state and center, but current situation in the ground at this point in time, as I told you, is that most of the hospitals in Maharashtra has absolutely a huge shortage of oxygen and even remdesivir. As far as oxygen is concerned, there has been instances in Maharashtra at various district hospitals and even small hospitals, the people have been shifted to big hospitals or major COVID center facilities. So obviously, this is one of the shortage that Maharashtra government is facing right now. even the state minister have also echoed the same view and said to the center that it is actually important need of the hour that the center should intervene and supply maximum oxygen and remdesivir to the state here. That is one condition. The second important factor is that the numbers have been increasing here. What we've got to know is that one of the state surveillance team member, Dr. Rajesh Avde, has said that Maharashtra has found a double mutation of coronavirus, and that's the reason it is spreading quite fast in all areas of Maharashtra, especially the Vidarbha area where it was first noticed, and that's the reason. If you look at the beginning of the second wave, from when the numbers started increasing, the Vidarbha was at the center. For example, the Amravati region of Vidarbha, Nagpur region. So these are the areas, Wardha area and Akola also. These are the places where the maximum numbers earlier have found. So this double mutation of coronavirus is obviously one of the major challenge ahead of the Maharashtra government, because as you've seen here, that number has been increasing day by day. Yesterday's number was 63,000. So if these numbers keep continuing, then definitely there'll be a lot of pressure on the health infrastructure of the Maharashtra. There'll be a huge shortage of the oxygen and remdesivir injection, and the ventilators are also there. So obviously now the state government need to focus and need to put in place that how they can increase this infrastructure in the next 14, 15 days, because currently in Maharashtra, the lockdown is underway till 1st of May. And this is the time that Maharashtra government has got either to reduce this number or to increase the capacity or to increase the infrastructure, health infrastructure in the state.
All right, Shishir, give us a sense of now that, they are doing finger pointing on oxygen. The fact of the matter is that patients by the end of it suffer. 4 days back, the fight was about the vaccines. First, give us a sense of how is vaccination going, the drive going on? Are there enough vaccines in the state? What is the situation on the availability of vaccines? You're telling us oxygen and remdesivir is less. Tell us update on the vaccine situation, and also on the health infrastructure. Are there enough beds? Are there enough ventilators? Are there enough ICU wards? Are people, those who are getting ill, easily getting admitted, or is that an issue?
Well, we'll start with the vaccine first. You rightly said that first the state government have pointed out this is the important issue that the state has left out with the vaccine, or they have very limited stock of vaccine here. That's what the Maharashtra Health Minister also said, and most of the ministers in Maharashtra's cabinet have raised this issue. But when we got to know about the numbers, actually, if you look at the numbers, the vaccines have been provided by the center to all the states. Maharashtra has got the maximum number of vaccines so far. Obviously, Maharashtra has a maximum numbers of coronavirus patients. That's the reason they need more vaccine. And the state government, the center government has already assured the state government that going forward, whatever amount, the number of vaccines Maharashtra required, the center will provide them in a phase-wise manner. The state have also stated later on that after vaccine, the oxygen and the remdesivir is a major issue for them. If you look at the current picture, in most of the hospitals, patients, especially the critical patients, are not getting the remdesivir injection in time, or probably they're not getting back oxygen also. And that's the reason, most of the time we have seen here that the relatives of the patients have been knocking the doors of the medicals, finding out the remdesivir injection all across the city. We've also seen the patient taking their patients to the different hospitals in search of the oxygen. So that's the harsh reality of Maharashtra at this point in time. There has been health infrastructure has already been strained here because the numbers are increasing on one side, and that's the reason this pressure you can definitely see on all these levels. Well, obviously, state government will have to work on it. They have to increase the capacity also. They have to increase the infrastructure also. But it needs some time. That's what the state government is saying. But at the same time, they're also raising finger towards center that they're not getting proper supply of the vaccines. They're not getting proper supply of the remdesivir injection, and the oxygen is concerned. But the ground reality is that the numbers are increasing, and that's what probably everything is boiling down. That if you do not reduce those numbers, then definitely whatever number you increase the capacity here, this will fall short going forward.
All right, Shishir, we'll have to leave it there. Many thanks. You take care. These are very tough times. Thank you very much for joining us for the moment. And Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has ordered complete lockdown beginning tonight at 8 p.m. till 7 a.m. on Monday. During the lockdown, there will be sanitization drive in rural and urban areas. Only essential services are available during the lockdown. A fine of 1,000 rupees will be imposed for not wearing masks at public place, and in case of A repeated violation, rupees 10,000 will be charged along with a provision of punishment. To fight with the COVID-19, Uttar Pradesh government has declared KGMU Balrampur Hospital as a dedicated COVID hospital, and the only COVID patients will be treated in those facilities. Also, the state government is planning to build a 1,000-bed COVID facility at the venue of the Defence Expo soon. Meanwhile, corona cases are rapidly spearheading in Uttar Pradesh. The state has reported 27,426 cases in a single day. In a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19, the Ministry of Railways has announced new measures. As per the new measures, the railways will impose a fine of rupees 500 for not wearing masks and spitting in the premises. The ministry has also directed railways to take immediate action in this regard for a period of 6 months or until further notice. Now changing tack, the 8th India-Kyrgyz Joint Special Forces exercise Khanjar was inaugurated at the Special Forces Frontier Brigade of the National Guards of Kyrgyz Republic in Bishkek. Initiating first in 2011, the 2 weeks long exercise focuses on high altitude mountains and counter extremism. In his opening remarks, Commander of the Kyrgyz National Guards, Colonel Argyvshov Talantbek, commented high altitude resilience of the two army personnel and their camaraderie and interoperability, recalling India-Kyrgyz civilizational bonds. Ambassador Alok A. Dimri welcomed the Indian contingent for the exercise and felicitated their role as a bridge in promoting shared mountain and nomadic heritage of the two peoples. Ceremonial parade graced the occasion along with a display of equipments and weapons and a visit to the training areas and barracks. Veteran Tamil actor, comedian and Padma Shri Awardee Vivek died on Saturday in the Chennai hospital following a cardiac arrest. He was 59. According to doctors, Vivek had 100% blockage in the left anterior descending artery vessel, which led to a massive cardiac arrest. The medical bulletin stated that cardiac arrest was not linked to COVID-19 vaccination that the actor had taken the previous day. Vivek was brought to the SMS hospital from 11 in the morning and on Friday and in an unconscious state of affairs, after which he had undergone emergency coronary angiography followed by angioplasty. Vivek was in the news for his efforts to remove the fear of vaccination amongst the people. Instead of going to a private hospital, he chose to get vaccinated at a government hospital to spread awareness. Vivek received several awards, including one from Tamil Nadu state government, others from Filmfare for his roles in more than 220 films. In 2009, the actor was conferred upon by the Padma Shri. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled the demise of noted actor Vivek. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said, and I quote him, "The untimely demise of noted actor Vivek has left so many saddened. His comic image and intelligent dialogues entertained people, both in his films and in his concern for environment and society shone through. Condolences to the family, friends and admirers. Om Shanti." Unquote. And for more updates on the international news, we are joined by our correspondent Abhishek Jha. Abhishek, good afternoon. Tell us what's making news in the international segment.
So, Amrit, of course, there's still a U.S. President Joe Biden and his policy that is actually making a lot of news and waves in the international segment. To start with, I have U.S. President Biden has signed an order limiting U.S. refugee admission this year to the historically low of 15,000 cap set under his predecessor Donald Trump. shelving a plan to raise to 62,500 and drawing the ire of refugee advocates and some Democratic lawmakers. But as criticism mounted, the White House issued a statement saying Biden would set a final increased refugee cap for the remainder of the fiscal year by May 15th. Biden's order to limit admission to 15,000 was a blow to advocacy groups that wanted the Democratic president to move swiftly to reverse the refugee policies of the Republican Trump, who has set the figure as a way to limit immigration. US President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga on Friday exchanged views on the impact of China's action on peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and the world. Both leaders also shared their concerns over Chinese activities that are inconsistent with the international rule-based order. The Friday's meeting was Biden's first face-to-face White House summit since taking office in January. Biden hosted Suga for talks that offered the Democratic president a chance to work further on his pledge to revitalize U.S. alliance that frayed under his Republican predecessor, Donald Trump.
Prime Minister Suga and I affirmed our ironclad support for U.S.-Japanese alliance and for our shared security. We committed to working together to take on the challenges from China and on issues like the East China Sea, the South China Sea, as well as North Korea, to ensure a future of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Japan and the United States are two strong democracies in the region, and we're committed to defending and advancing our shared values, including human rights and the rule of law.
Biden also said the US and Japan will together invest in areas such as 5G, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, genomics, and semiconductor supply chains. Meanwhile, Japan Prime Minister Suga said he and Biden agreed on the necessity of frank discussions with China in the context of Beijing's activities in the Indo-Pacific region and reaffirmed the importance of the US-Japan alliance.
We also had serious talks on China's influence over the peace and prosperity of the Pacific and the world at large. We agreed to oppose any attempts to change the status quo by force or coalition in the East and South China Seas and intimidation of others in the region. At the same time, we agreed on the necessity for each of us to engage in frank dialogue with China and in so doing to pursue stability of international relations while upholding universal values.
Biden and Suga committed to further strengthening the US-Japan alliance to expand on this vision and fully endorsed the March 2021 joint statement of the US-Japan Security Consultative Committee. Moving on, Russia will ask 10 US diplomats to leave the country in retaliation for Washington's expulsion to 10 Russian diplomats over alleged election interference and over malign actions. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Friday. The US government on Thursday also blacklisted Russian companies and barred US banks from buying sovereign bonds from Russia's central bank, National Wealth Fund, and Finance Ministry. Russian Foreign Minister said Moscow would also end the activity in Russia of US funds and NGOs that interfere in the country's internal affairs. The Russian Foreign Ministry said John Sullivan, the US ambassador to Russia, should return home for consultations too. Washington said its own sanctions were payback for Russia's interfering in last year's US elections, cyber hacking, bullying Ukraine, and other alleged malign actions, but Russia denies all the US allegations. Yes. So Amrit, moving on, the next news is regarding Myanmar, which is lying right next to the India's border. The opponents of military government in Myanmar under the banner of the CRPH on Friday announced the formation of a national unity government. The government will be headed by the deposed president, U Win Myint, as president and Aung San Suu Kyi as the state councillor. The CRPH also announced the portfolios of other ministers of the government, which includes the members of parliament who were elected in national elections held on 8th November last year. People in several towns of Myanmar welcomed the formation of the NUG by clapping, lighting candles, and singing revolutionary songs.
Our main job is to end this military dictatorship once for all and to restore democracy and freedom for the people of Myanmar and to build Federal Democratic Union of Myanmar and have people's government emerge. So until we achieve those goals, we will not rest.
On the next development, 3 members of International Space Station's crew returned safely to Earth today on Russian Soyuz craft. The Soyuz MS-17 spacecraft carrying NASA astronaut Kate Rubins, a microbiologist, who in 2016 became the first person to sequence DNA in space, and 2 Russian cosmonauts landed in Kazakhstan. The 3 had been at the space station since mid-October 2020. Their mission was the last scheduled Russian flight carrying a US crew member, making an end to a long dependency as the US reviews its own crew launch capability in an effort to drive down the cost of sending astronauts to the space. This was all from the international segment of News Today. Back to you, Amrit.
Well, thank you, Abhishek, for updating us in the international segment what really happened. And let's now talk about the COVID-19 updates from across the world. More than 14 crore 5 lakh people worldwide have so far tested positive for COVID-19, while over 11 crore 93 lakh people have recovered from the virus. The deadly virus has claimed over 30 lakh 12,000 something lives globally. The United States continues to be the worst affected by a COVID-19 pandemic. So far, more than 3 crore 23 lakh people have tested positive for COVID, while over 5 lakh 79,000 people have died of the virus in the United States. German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Friday received her first shot of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Merkel's spokesman on Twitter quoted the leader saying that she is happy to receive her first dose of COVID-19 vaccines and that the vaccinations are key to overcoming the pandemic. Germany's vaccine regulator has recommended limiting the use of AstraZeneca's vaccine to those aged over 60, citing the risks of a rare clotting condition. German Finance Minister Olaf Scholz also received his first shot of AstraZeneca's vaccine earlier on Friday. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Advisory Panel will meet again on the 23rd of April to discuss whether the pause on the use of Johnson & Johnson and COVID-19 vaccination should continue. After delaying more than a vote on the matter earlier this week, U.S. health regulations recommended the use of J&J vaccine and be paused after reports of 6 cases of rare brain blood clots in women, out of which 7 million people who have received the shot. In the US, the advisory panel on Wednesday called for more data to be before making a decision on how and whether to resume the use of one-shot vaccine. Well, Brazil continues to remain number 1 of the worst hit countries in the world COVID-19 pandemic, while amounting to cases. Vaccinating maximum of the population has become a priority. Armed medical cases carrying vaccines, stringers and syringes and sanitizing gel. Brazilian health workers trekked up to Rio de Janeiro's often violent Rocinha slum to vaccinate the poor against COVID-19. Brazil has so far registered 1 crore 38 lakh 34,000 COVID cases daily, while the virus has claimed lives of more than 3 lakh 69,000. And the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization on Friday asked the pregnant women in Britain to get a COVID-19 vaccine made by Pfizer or Moderna, stating that there is more real-world data to show that they are safe. The JCVI said that nearly 90% pregnant women had been vaccinated in the US, mainly with 2 American vaccines, without any safety concerns being raised. Pregnant women had previously been advised against taking the vaccine in Britain because not enough information was known about the impact on human body. Argentina is facing a deadly second coronavirus wave. The capacity of intensive care in a hospital on the outskirts of Buenos Aires has been pushed to the limited with explosion on COVID-19 cases in the country. The average of the new cases in Argentina increased 89% in the last 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the bed occupancy in intensive care units in Buenos Aires metropolitan area rose from 61.5% to 72.5%. On Wednesday, Argentina's government announced new pandemic restrictions in and around the capital Buenos Aires to rein in the sharp spike in the COVID-19 cases. Argentina has so far registered more than 12,65,000 coronavirus cases with 59,084 such deaths. Well, let's talk about BCCI now. The Indian Cricket Board has agreed to field both men's and women's teams for the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028 if the game is included in the roster. BCCI chairman also agreed to field its own women's team from Birmingham Commonwealth Games next year. BCCI's willingness to participate in the Olympics could not be huge boost for the International Cricket Council's plans to get a place in the Olympics. Cricket was the last part of the Olympics in 1900. England and all-rounder Ben Stokes will be out for up to 12 weeks after an X-ray showed and scanned and showed that he would need surgery of a fractured leg and the index finger. He will miss England's home test series New Zealand against starting on the June 2nd. He was injured while fielding Rajasthan Royals 4 times champion Kings 11 on Monday. Stokes was named Wisden's leading cricketer in the world for second year in a row on Wednesday. And that's it in News Connect. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.